No.
I didn't even know spring break happened. I was just kind of there. I'm like, why are there a lot of people in town? Why is Whataburger filled at 10 p.m.? But yeah, because Whataburger's my spot. I go there
Really?
with my friends like every night. That's the only thing open. Austin's such a big city, but nothing's open past 1 a.m.
Well, what are you doing after 1 a.m.?
Not drugs, not partying, and so there's nothing else to do.
How about sleep?
No, not for the young. Drink water. I feel energized. I'm happy. Good. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good too. Mm-hmm. I went to bed at 10.
10 p.m.
Like I'm getting tired at 9:45 and trying to get ready.
Yeah.
But then I'm up at 5. So.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It balances it out.
Yeah. So.
I met up with my friends at 10:30 last night. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even known you got out. I mean, if you tried to text me, my phone was already up. No. But I am older, so that's okay. Thank you for joining us for another Sidewalk Conversations. We're so grateful that you've come and participated. We have another great guest with us today. I'm so thrilled to have one of the youth workers at Shoreline. But before we get into the conversation, let me take a moment to actually thank Shoreline for their sponsorship of this broadcast. So we have a number of different sponsors over these broadcasts, and there is one that is going to be doing today's, and that's Shoreline Church. So if you're looking for a church in the Austin area, I would encourage you to check out Shoreline. And they also have services online, so you can join us from afar if you'd like as well. So today I have as my guest, Natalie. How are you, Natalie? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. We were just talking about when you got up today. Crazy.
Yeah.
Bed at 2:33
a.m.
a.m.
and awake at 9 a.m. I mean, that's a good amount of sleep. That's like 7 hours?
Yeah, I guess so.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Enough there.
Way to go.
Yes.
Well, let's start off with what do you do? What keeps you busy during the week?
So I work at Shoreline Church as a social media manager and marketing assistant.
Okay.
So that means I'm doing all the deliverables, ordering things, getting things shipped, communicating with companies, going back and forth with communications, communicating with people upstairs, doing all the things, and then social media, so social media posts, planning, content creating, all the fun stuff. So
love it. And
yeah.
You're also involved with the youth, right?
Mm-hmm. On my free time on Sunday nights, I volunteer with the youth program as a middle school youth leader. So
awesome.
Real fun.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit. You have an interesting upbringing. So tell me a little bit how you grew up, some of your key influences, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I grew up in a household that was pretty Christian lukewarm. I went to church, saw the whole VeggieTale sort of stuff in like preschool, lived in Spring, Texas, then moved to El Paso. And then immediately after we moved to El Paso, around 8 years old, I never went back to church.
Okay.
Yeah, like I stepped into a church maybe like 2 or 3 times the entire duration living.
Was that your decision, or was the family just kind of not that much into it? Or?
Yeah, good question. My family, didn't care to go. It wasn't anything we talked about. My dad, he doesn't really believe, like he believes in God, like the concept of it, but just never really pursued it. And that's kind of how I grew up. Like I didn't care for God. It wasn't that I didn't think he existed. I knew something existed. I knew something was out there. I just wasn't sure what it was.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I never went to church because I just never cared for it. My mom and my little brother kind of attended every now and then. And my best friend actually, shout out to Hannah, I went to school with her, and she was just she was such a light. She was such a light in the world and just so joyful. And I just noticed she was different from everyone else. And I used to ask her, like, what's different about you? And she was like, oh, like, I'm Christian. I know God, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. Didn't ask, really. I didn't need the whole spiel.
Right.
But she'd invite me to church and stuff. And I'd go. And I really did not like it. I did not like going to church.
Okay.
It was not my scene. It was too long of dresses, I don't know. I just didn't vibe with it. And then I just remember stepping out of the church being like, oh, never again. I'm fine. I'm good sticking with the idea of something exists, just not sure what it is.
Right.
So I didn't care for it. And then I moved to Austin a couple years later, and my next door neighbor invited me to Shoreline. She's about 87 years old now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. And you listened to an older woman.
Yeah, it was during COVID time. And so, like, she became my best friend. She taught me how to knit, taught me how to bake. She's German, so she taught me some German words, too.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. And she needed a ride to church, so she asked me to go with her and invite my mom. So we went. And from that day forward, I never stopped going. I loved going to Shoreline.
So what was it? Was it just the church experience that was different, or was there something also happening in your heart that kind of made you more open to it?
Yeah, it's like reverse back on what I was saying. I had met God during COVID when I moved to Austin. And so God met me in my lowest place, and I just knew that he was the one and only God. He was truly like the God.
Now, what happened? Like, did he show up in some personal way? What was it that kind of got your attention?
Yeah, no, I was going through a really dark period of life, like depression, shame. I felt like I couldn't be redeemed. I felt like nothing was going to get better, and I was stuck here in this hole. And my best friend would invite me to Bible studies and stuff, and I would reject it. And it wasn't until I found a devotional book my mom had bought, and she left it in the closet downstairs, like our junk drawer closet. Yeah. Anything and everything goes in there. There's like Jenga pieces on the bottom floor. But I found that a devotional book, and I started filling it out. And it wasn't necessarily me doing it because I believed in God, but because it was like a form of therapy for me.
Okay.
It was like, oh, what are you thankful for today? What are you praying for? What Bible verse? Blah, blah, blah. And so I fill it out as like a prayer to be saved, to be forgiven. I don't know who I was talking to. I just knew that I wanted to be forgiven and just feel better. And I kept doing it. And then just one day I started asking more questions about who I was talking to. Like, who is this God? What does he mean? Like, what is it? Blah, blah, blah. And so I'd opened up my Bible and I started reading it. And none of it made sense to me. But I Googled it and I kept asking questions. And there wasn't a specific moment. I just, day after day, I just believed more and more. And the more curious I became, the more answers he gave me. And so...
so was it during that time were you also invited to Shoreline? Was that kind of a dovetail experience there? Or?
Yeah, so like immediately, around that time, I started praying for community because I didn't have any Christian friends. My only Christian friend was in El Paso and I was still in Austin. And so it took God 3 months to eventually have my next door neighbor, who's also named Hannah, to invite me to church.
Oh, yep. How cool is that?
Yeah. She invited me to church, and I went. And at that point, I've been craving something deeper than just Bible study, deeper than just sitting alone in my room reading my Bible. And I went, and the worship just changed me. Like the way that it felt like a Coldplay concert, but a good way. Like it was it was a surreal moment. Like I've been craving concert. I've been craving worship. I've been craving a deeper sense of community. And it was all there in one. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So cool. Mm-hmm. So now that you are a follower of Christ and you are quite devoted, we've had conversations over the years about it, and you're active in youth ministry. What are some of the things that you enjoy doing around the church outside of your role?
I enjoy just serving anywhere and everywhere. If anyone needs help, I'm there. Like I used to serve. Or my goal used to be as an intern when I was an intern was to serve at least everywhere once. The only place I've never fully served was the coffee shop.
Okay.
I just never did, but everywhere else I've served.
And do you have a favorite place of service?
Probably tech. I love serving the tech team. They're very chill, very laid back. There's always a spot to do something. And so mobile cameras, having the big old cameras on your shoulder, like walking around with them is like a power move on a Sunday. I'm like, oh, you're talking during service? Ha, you're on screen now. It's really fun.
So you have also picked up a camera in your life outside the church. Mm-hmm. What kind of piqued that interest?
That is a great question. I used to love photography as a kid, but it wasn't anything more than just shooting on my phone. there was a moment about 2 years ago that the social media manager at the time was going on maternity leave, and she was like, hey guys, I'm leaving tomorrow for the next couple of months. Who's taking over my role? And no one at the time was like, no one had the time to do it. No one had the capacity. And as an intern, I was like, I can do it. I can do social media while you're gone. I had no social media experience. I didn't even have an Instagram account. And so that day I downloaded Instagram for the first time, and I became a social media manager. And so with that,
so great.
it is. It's a blessing. I don't know how I got there, but God put me in that position at the right time, right space. And along with that, he gave me, there was a camera there that no one was using. It was like a production camera, but no one really used it. And so they're like, Natalie, if you want to use it for social media, please go ahead and do it. And so someone at the time taught me how to use it. Not like he was busy as well, so he did every in between services every now and then. And I just picked it up and I kept learning. I kept asking questions, and from there on I started building a social media team, and now there's a social media team at Shoreline on Sundays that serves and takes photos and videos.
And you're part of the leading that group?
Mm-hmm. I'm super proud of it. Like,
yeah, you should be.
I want to be humble, but like I did build it up, and I'm so thankful and grateful that I couldn't have done it without God.
Yeah.
The people on my team are so dedicated. They love what they do, and that's something only God could put within them, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, I'm guessing they also like hanging around with you as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're such an upbeat person. They're like, okay, yeah, we get to hang out with Natalie too.
Yeah,
so.
My office, they talk about it kind of often. My office is always filled with people. Even when they're not serving, the people, they come in and just hang out on my couch, and we just talk and chat about service, and it's a great time. It's definitely a point of community for people.
Okay, now let me, since you're in the social media world, you have a lot of connections to what's going on in social media. And, I think there's a lot of critique in the culture about social media.
Yeah.
It can be all consuming, addictive. People are like always on their phones or whatever. Yeah. So when you look at that, obviously you see it through the positive lens of communicating the gospel and inviting people into church and so on. So from your perspective, two questions really on it. One is like, what are the ways in which you're using it for good? How do you see it having a positive impact? And then I want to follow it up with a question about like, what are some of the risks?
Yeah, there are always negative and positives to everything. With social media, when people push back on it, like, oh, we shouldn't have social media within service, like that's a delicate, rare moment, like we should keep it just for the moment. And I agree, there are some moments that I feel shouldn't be recorded, shouldn't be put on social media. However, my response to most of that is people don't know what's going on inside the church. If they've never stepped into a church, they don't know what's going on. And so we have the ability to minister to people online, to show them, hey, there's lives being changed right now. There's people who are going through breakthroughs right now in this moment. How else would they have seen that if it wasn't through scrolling through Instagram? And so I would just say social media changes lives. I mean, I know I've seen churches, I've seen so many videos of people just being transformed just by scrolling on my phone. Who else has that ability in the world that doesn't have access to information online?
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things I've watched happen with people's spiritual development is most people, especially if not familiar with church, won't just come in off the street and risk going to a service, right?
Yeah.
And so if they have a chance to kind of sneak a peek, which social media allows you to do, they'll be like, oh, well, that looks kind of cool. I think I could go there and not feel intimidated, and it won't be weird, And so social media gives people a chance to have an inside look without having to go. And who knows how many people have been prompted to actually go as a result of that, right?
It's like window shopping almost. Of like, oh, I see what's going on there. Oh, look at this great deal. Like someone's crying on the middle of the floor of worship. That must mean there's something there. There's something going on. And I think the more that we engage on social media and post our own things and show people like lives are being changed, the more people are inclined to go. Yeah. I know that when I repost stuff to my story, people are asking, oh, what's this event that's going on? Oh, what's that Shoreline? What's coming up? And I can respond of like, hey, come to church and I'll show you. And it's an invite. It's sharing the gospel quite literally with one button on your phone. Yeah.
Now, what do you think are the risks?
Ooh. Social media in general, or like worship, like.
Well, because what you're counting on is that people will engage social media in order to be exposed to the things you're posting. But on the other hand, are you contributing to the addictive components of that?
I feel like anything can be addictive on Instagram. The algorithm is designed to keep you on there. And if it keeps you on there and it keeps feeding you Bible content, that's great. But also, most Instagram algorithms are not feeding you Bible content unless you're repeatedly engaging in it. So most times, if not, it's feeding you content that makes your brain feel numb. Like if you're on Instagram, it's to hide away from what you're doing in real life. And I know that when I get home from a rough day, I'm on Instagram scrolling for hours, just watching reels that have nothing to do with anything. It does not make me think, I just watch them. And so it is a negative. And I feel like church Instagram can contribute to it, but most times, if not, it should redirect you to the right place. It should redirect you towards God, to the Bible. I know that a lot of times when I'm just brain rotting on Instagram, I get a reel every now and then that's like, oh, go read your Bible. Have you read your Bible today yet? I'm like, you know what? I have not. Let me go read my Bible. Yeah. So there are cons and there are pros, but it depends. It's in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. You control what you see on Instagram. So that's most.
Yeah, and I think, it's like everything. You have to have a balanced perspective, and you have to know your limits. And sometimes it's actually a good thing to say, all right, I'm going to give myself some time to enjoy this and just kind of veg out. Yeah. But then I'm going to put a time limit on and say, okay, I've had enough. And I think we need that in many areas of life, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now I want to dive in a little bit on the work you do with young people.
Yeah.
So we've had other conversations about your work with young people, but maybe people haven't heard some of the other things we've talked about. So just generally speaking, when you look at what's happening in the youth culture, what are some of the things that you're like talking to people about on a regular basis?
I feel the question of sexuality with the young students. A lot of my middle school girls ask me about that all the time. Like, where does God stand on sexuality? Or like, where does God stand with gossiping? I know a lot of my students struggle with that. Even adults struggle with gossiping. And I know that they know the answer, but it's just how do we apply it? And I feel like every time we have small group circle times, they're telling me about their day, about their weeks, about whatever. Oh, I wanted to fight this girl, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, how did you respond like Jesus would? How did you respond to that moment? And most times, if not, it's them struggling with self-control with their words, self-control with gossiping, self-control with what they're doing, what they're watching, all the things.
Yeah.
So, but sexuality comes up a lot, quite often. I know.
Now, when you say that, what do you mean specifically? Is it there like the conversation about gender and identity and that kind of thing, or is it about intimacy and whether or not it's okay, or is it all of it?
It's all of it. I feel like the deeper conversations come from like their identity. They don't know who they are and they feel insecure. I know that I became a leader because I know as a middle school girl I was very insecure, and I know that the girls around me fed into my insecurities at the time. And so I became a leader to show these girls, like, hey, your insecurities, you might feel this way, but God says this about you, that you're beautiful, you're loved, you're God's daughter. And so I just remind my girls of that, but it's constantly being shaken up by the world, by the culture around them, around people at school that tell them they're this way or they're this thing. And so I have to Sundays remind them, Jesus says this. And
do they listen? Do you find that they hear you on those things?
Yes, to an extent.
Yeah.
As much as someone who tells you advice once a week can do.
Yeah.
Like I don't see them every week. I do some of my girls. I do mentor some students, but on a regular Sunday, it's like they can come in, I can tell them, but unless they actually apply it and keep themselves accountable, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so it's just being real with them on Sundays as much as I can with the relational equity that I have with them, but also understanding that they're girls. They're 13 to 12-year-old girls. I can't, they're going to make mistakes, and I kind of have to just watch them do it.
Yeah. Is there something that you're encouraged about, like things that you see happening in the youth culture, maybe even specifically at church, that you're excited about?
I love the passion they have, the fire that they have. If you look around on a Sunday, the people that are jumping around are the young adults and the youth students, the fire that they have on a Sunday night in that room when they're jumping all together and worshiping and rapping the Jesus lyrics together. It's like, where do you find that outside of church? The they have so much energy and light. And like we talked about earlier about me going to sleep super, super late and waking up early, and you going to sleep really early, waking up really early. It's like you don't have the same energy that I do because you're older.
What do you say?
Old. I'm just kidding.
I used to like you. Sorry, I got you off track.
No, it's okay. I'm going to cry now. No, they have so much energy.
Yeah.
And that energy can be put towards Jesus, towards changing the lives of people around them, towards staying up late and preaching the gospel to people on the street, which I can start doing now. But God is good, and he's showing these kids that he is good. He's showing them through the worship, through the sermons, through the small groups on Sunday, through consistency. And so I think that's a lot of things kids lack, consistency throughout their lives. They have their groups and they have their people at school, but that changes the next year, the next semester, the next whatever. But church stays the same in the sense of it is the same schedule every Sunday, the same people they see every Sunday. And that's what they need.
Yeah. So is there a story, and you don't have to like share a name, but maybe a scenario where you have seen this kind of change that you're talking about where a person moved from the sidelines of a church experience to kind of moving into a place of passion and excitement about Jesus? Have you seen that?
I could say myself. I definitely was on the sidelines for a little bit and came and dove deep into church culture. Like when I first started attending Shoreline, yes, I loved it, but I didn't serve because I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel passionate to do it. And once I was invited to do an internship, I dove deep into it. I became passionate, came on fire for Jesus. Everyone knew my name because I was around everywhere, serving everywhere. Even with one of my students, I'm still working on her. Jesus is still working through her. Jesus is working through all of us. But I've just seen the transformation of where she was to where she is now. Just repeating and reminding her what Jesus calls her to do, what Jesus says about her. And I've seen her, just the way she interacts with people. There was one Sunday where she just sat alone in the corner by herself on her phone. And I was like, hey, do you want to go talk to those new girls? Hey, do you want to come do this with me? Hey, do you want to come meet with me on Wednesday nights? We can talk about Jesus and stuff. And just the way that she's opened up and just pursued Jesus on her own accord while also pursuing Jesus with other girls. I've seen her find these new girls and invite them into her life and walk the life that Jesus calls them to do together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, looking at maybe the bigger picture when it comes to the Big C Church.
Yeah.
And, we all have different opinions about like what it should be. But I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of the things that you think would be like when you look through the lens of your own journey and some of the, the girls that you talked about, what do you think the church needs to be focusing on to speak to the quote unquote next generation?
Authenticity. We need to be more authentic in everything that we do, authentic in our mistakes, authentic in where we're going, authentic in just who we are. A lot of kids are craving that. They want the real Jesus. They want the real church. They want the real people. You could stand up on a stage and have pearly white teeth, but unless you're speaking true, authentic words and speaking truth into people, they don't want it. Yeah. We're tired of the filters. I'm tired of the filters. I just want true, raw word of Jesus. Yeah.
That's interesting because we are in a church that has a platform and lights and haze and all the things. Does that work against, do you think, the authenticity?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think that you could see it that way, but also view it as a way to pursue authenticity. It's like we set up the stage and people are almost like it's eye-catching. You invite people into the room, and then whenever you're on the pulpit, you're speaking truth, you're speaking authenticity. I know for Sunday nights especially, they have all the lights, they have the haze, they have all the things, but when they're on the stage, they're speaking nothing but word that God, directly from God. There's no fluff to it. It's just the truth. It is what it is.
I remember too, for me, when I was going to church, I grew up in a very traditional church.
Yeah.
That had, the pews and the stained glass and the formal candles and all the ornaments and things like that. And it was just like, I almost felt like I was stepping back in time to walk into this space.
Yeah.
It was like no other space I was ever a part of.
Yeah.
And that kind of had communicated to me that like this is this is not life. Like, this is something you go into and you do for you do your ritual, you say your things, and then you walk out and you quote unquote go back to your real world. And one of the things I do like about the church employing all these other technologies is like, this is like everything else in my life. Like, when I go to a concert, this is what I see, or when I'm, engaging with something on video, this is what it looks like. And so there's this integration of modern technology with this ancient wisdom that I think really works for people, especially maybe young people. Would you agree with that? Is that a reasonable assessment?
I love what you said about like how you feel like you're being transformed to a different space when you're at church, like in the old pew church compared to now. And I definitely agree. It's like there's a song called Monday Morning Faith of like how your faith isn't just for Sundays, it's for throughout the week, it's for every day. And I love that our church encouraged people to come in whatever they want, when they're nice clothes or shorts, and I see the students come in on Sundays, and I know some of them dress up real big, but I know a lot of them come in clothes that they wore to school or clothes that they wore to their practices or whatever. And they come and they get to learn about Jesus and go home and apply it. You don't have to wear your Sunday best to get the word. You don't have to wear your Sunday best to you don't need just pews to get to know the word of God, And so I love it.
And I think a part of what it's probably my generational thing showing, but we were in our home, we would dress up for God, like it was a matter of respect. But I think for a lot of young people now, as I talk to people like yourself, it's like, but that can be also for the show. It's like you're putting this thing on, like I'm better than I actually am because I look good or I sound good. And there's something about just being able to say, I'm going to come into this environment as I am. And that might mean shorts and flip-flops. I may not have the resources for something nice. And so the fact that in the youth group, and I think our church overall is this way, it accepts people wherever they are and whatever they can do and whatever they can bring to the picture. And that's what God's like, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I literally had this debate multiple times with people, and I don't necessarily lean on either side of like, should we wear our Sunday best? Should we not? Come in your Sunday flip-flops because that's all you have sometimes. But it's also like, if you are making big bucks but you're coming in with your tennis shoes and you're not really, it's like, what are you doing? I feel God wants us to show up wherever we're at, in the sense of like, if I'm feeling like I'm wearing my best Sunday clothes today, I'm going to do that because I'm having church with the King. But it's also like, I'm having church with the King every single day. It is a special day, but it's not necessarily, it's not going to be, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I always go back and forth because I don't lean on either side, because I get it. It's like you're basically having breakfast with the King, the Word, but also like, He loves me no matter what I'm doing. What do you think? What do you lean on?
Yeah, I like both. I like the way you put it, in that, if there's a day where I'm feeling like I want to honor the King by putting on my best, and that's authentic with who I am and where I'm at that time, I think absolutely. But if there's a risk, let's say, like I won't go if I can't dress up. I'm gonna like, no. However you are, just get there. It'll be a good thing. If it means you have to come in your shorts and a t-shirt and no makeup or whatever, then it doesn't matter to God. It really doesn't. And I think the more important thing is that we're there as however we are.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just God wants us to be there. Just show up, be there, get the word.
Let us not forsake the assembling of ourselves. Right?
Yes.
All right, so when you think about your future, like where are you headed? What are the things you're looking forward to?
I was thinking about that. It sounds really depressing, but I feel like I've hit all my goals, like the things I wanted in life. Like it's a blessing, but like I say depressing in the sense of like, oh, now I have nothing else to look forward to. But like I have achieved what I wanted to. The things I've been praying about, God has given me, and I'm so blessed and so thankful. And so I was like, what am I looking forward to next in life? And I think just seeing the the flower, seeing the fruit from what I've plowed, or seeing the fruit from what I've planted in the past years.
Yeah.
And I know I'm just looking forward to seeing my youth students, seeing them grow up in Christ, seeing them become the women of Christ that I know they can be, and also looking back on what I've done as a person, just the relationships it made in my life, what has come from it. So I'm looking forward to looking back. I'm looking forward to becoming old and going to bed at 10 p.m. and looking back and seeing all the things that have changed in my life and what I've grown from to what I am now. I'm just blessed.
So do you see yourself like you're in ministry now? Mm-hmm. And do you see this as a quote unquote career track? Do you feel like you're going to be involved with the church as a vocational thing, or is it still like you're questioning whether or not that's what you want to do? You don't have to know for sure.
How dare you? No, I know that God has called me into ministry. I wanted to fight it. He told me very vividly, like, you're going to be in ministry. You're going to be in ministry. I was like, no, God, I don't want to. And I know God gives us free choice. And I could quit my job and I could do whatever I wanted to do. But I know that this is where I'm called to be. This is where I feel like I best fit. All the abilities, all the goals I have, all the gifts I have fit where I'm doing things now. And so I want to continue doing this because I know it makes me feel happy, and I know the people around me feel blessed for what I get to do as well. And so if I can bless others and bless myself with God's hand on everything, then I want to do that.
Yeah.
So
love that.
Yeah. I see lives being changed every Sunday, whether it's through taking photos or whether it's just being able to take care of my volunteers. There was one Sunday that I remember that one of my volunteers, had been late, and she had texted me like, hey, like, I'm going to be late. And I was okay, well, I'm waiting for you, let me know when you're here. And she texted me halfway through worship, and she's like, I can't come in. I'm in my car, I can't come in. So, oh, what's wrong? She's like, I'm having a breakdown right now, I can't do it. And so I put down my camera, and I ran out to the parking lot, and I found her. And she was crying, her makeup was running down, like her face was half done, her hair everywhere. And I just remember hugging her and telling her, like, it's going to be okay. And I knew in that moment that my photography, my social media job, my marketing, it's more than that. It's taking care of people and ministering to them. And so from that day forward, like we mentor each other in a sense. We take care of each other and spiritually walk with one another. But I just know that is what I love. I love taking care of people and ministering to them and leading, and I love marketing and all the fun stuff. It all combines together into one career, and I love it. And so, yes.
Well, I think if I can make an observation, I feel like one of the things I've really enjoyed, and it's one of the fun things about, being in the same church for a period of time, is that you get to watch the development of people. Mm-hmm. So people that were kind of hanging in the background and moving into places of leadership. Yeah. It's been really fun to watch you take on a mantle of leadership, to be good at your craft, which you are, but then also what you just said is to have a heart for people, which I think is at the core of ministry. It's like, yes, we have our tasks, we have our assignments, whether it's speaking or social media or technology, but the main assignment, of course, is to care for people and to make sure that we are leading them by serving them. And from what I can tell, you're doing that really well.
Thank you. It's been fun to watch. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What about you? What about your upcoming things? What are you looking forward to?
You're allowed to ask that question?
I am. It's my podcast now.
Well, I'm excited about a couple things. So I have this cancer group that I lead, and I'm very excited about that. It's one of the ways in which God's redeemed this cancer journey, is being able to serve and help other people who are in a similar position. I love this podcast thing that I do weekly. I have a chance to talk to great guests, and I'm just fascinated by interesting stories. And I set out to just talk to quote unquote ordinary people who I see doing pretty extraordinary things. And so that's been a real joy. I also do a couple of different things with speaking at churches, and I do a little photography on the side as well. And so I just kind of do a number of different things. I'm at a stage in life where I have the freedom to create my own schedule.
Yeah.
And so the things that I'm doing, I choose to do. I love to do it. So,
yeah.
That's what I'm about right now.
That's great.
Yeah, it's good.
Wow. Being old and having so many great things on for you.
That's like the third time you said that.
My apologies.
I don't think you're sorry.
I'm not.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm appreciative of Natalie being here, and I thank you for joining us as well. And join us again on Sidewalk Conversations next week.